Hello and welcome to Into the Light. I'm your host, Edina Mauvana. Today we have Karen Blaine. Karen is a published author with 9 different books. She has a background as a retired certified hypnotherapist with specialization in hypnotherapy. And as an intuitive empath, Karen's writing is dedicated to educating, enlightening, and inspiring readers into their most authentic selves. I know, Karen, we were just talking about how I think a lot of this work is to inspire people to unprogram their subconscious belief systems, right? And really getting lives of gratitude and abundance. So that's really what your books are aimed for. I'm really happy to have you on the show, Karen. So good for you to be here. Thank you so much.
Happy to be with you. Very happy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've noticed something else that convert that yeah, I'm a conversational hypnotherapist, and I'll tell you that's what I used to be. The difference is a lot of people are scared to, and I get it, I totally get it, of a hypnotherapist because they think they'll be put into someone else's control, and that scares them. So I
Right.
always made sure by calling it conversation, it's not just calling it, making sure they knew they weren't in trance of some kind, but I could just make them feel soft and steady, that I could then give them affirmations, a lot of them when they're all relaxed and the candles are lit, like you do. And then they could absorb it more easily. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it has to be very relaxed because otherwise someone feels like they're giving away their mental control to someone else, right? We don't.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So how did that work with your background in helping clients with their subconscious reprogramming? How did that lead to you beginning to write all of your books and starting to become an abundant author and all of that? What happened in your life that led to this work?
My, I always had felt that way, but written a lot. But for me, you're right, it takes a seminal moment a lot of times for us.
Yeah.
And my dad passed away and was tough. And I started writing. As I wrote, I realized that was a way to transform my grief, and that I really needed to share like all of that. That was my first book, Subconsciously Speaking, because I always go inward. That's just who I am.
Mm.
I look at life as an inside job. That's why I'm not great at social conversation. I like to
Mm.
talk on a deeper level. So
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about your dad passing away. My dad recently passed as well, and he was always aspiring to be a prolific writer. And as I was growing up, it was always about all the books he wanted to write. And so now I've been trying to capture that. And you're right, a lot of this stems from like grief moments, processing where we have a lot of impact in our lives, right? Where there's the moments that are making us look inward, like you said, and that's something like introspection is where the healing really begins, right? Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about how your books are helping you. You have a few mantras, affirmations. What are your favorite ideas that you share in these in your books, and what do you have coming up?
it's interesting because I kind of cover the range, even though I am using, like I said, our inward manifestation to do this. The main thing that's very important, no matter what the book says, is say you're a total type A and a perfectionist, which a lot of women are in particular, no offense. And I just think that I wrote a book called The Illusion of Perfection
Oh,
because, okay, my best girlfriend all my life growing up passed away. She committed suicide. Okay. She had everything to live for. So I guess it's moments of trauma when the writing really comes out for me. And I just couldn't understand. So I started to research it, and then I started to write. And I wanted to say it's understanding we're humans, right? We're human beings. Nobody is perfect. We're not, and we never will be. And that's okay.
and so much of it, like I know breaking down like our illusion of perfection is really what leads to healthier relationships in a lot of ways so that we can have a more authentic experience. That's what I think about when I think of someone that's a perfectionist or someone that's trying to do that work. So what do you recommend that clients do, or what techniques do we use to really increase our ability to break down these sort of barriers, these illusions of perfection, and how do we really tap into the power that comes with that?
That's a really good question. I think mostly what we do is we need to understand that perfectionism by itself is not inherently a good thing. It's not okay to say, I'm perfect, I'm striving to be perfect, because all it does is set you up for failure. Who can be perfect? And once you own that, and once you can feel, I do the best that I can do, so much of our world is concentrated on being a victor, right? On winning the track championship. When my kids were growing up, I always said it's the journey, honey, not the destination. Just do as good as you can, do as well as you can. But this will be the fun times of your life. Not once you're there, but now, when you look back and have stories about how you felt, it won't be because you're on top of the world. No, it'll be about the times you were striving to get to the top of the world. So I go into a lot of that and a lot of different techniques and things. Yeah.
Yeah, and so much of the work is focused on like this journey of self-love. It's cliche, but that's I know a lot of what it
Oh,
has
yeah.
to have. So tell me a little bit about that. How is it really tapping into that power of self-love? What does that mean to people who don't understand where to even start with that kind of concept?
And that is one of my very favorite books, always will be,
Yeah.
because people think it means different things. Some people have said, whatever, it doesn't matter what it means to you or me, anybody. If you read my book, some of us are what's called highly sensitive people or
Mhm.
HSPs. And that's when I said I felt many times in my life, I felt so alone because I just didn't know anybody like me. Everybody seemed so tough and everybody seemed like they were just strong and everybody seemed to be encouraged to be that way. And I wasn't that way. So it just made me feel worse about myself until finally one day during all these years, I said, wow, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to be proud. I'm going to know that I'm not alone. And then I started to reach out to people, got my own little group of community and of like minded people. And so what it did was it was really good for me because you're not alone.
Yeah, that feeling of being alone, finding community. I think, and you were talking about just experience as a someone who's identifying as an empath or highly sensitive person and the journey that comes along with having to heal through a lot of that, especially I know like people talk about being the black sheep or feeling like you're alone in the world. Tell me a little bit about how you came up as far as did you come from a religious background or where did you feel like that was never anything that you found community with, or how did you feel where you were finding your own spiritual path in this way?
Yes, for me, it was more of not a spiritual path as much as it was I grew up in a family that was all type A, very strong, and it was not about, again, it was not about the destination at all. It was, excuse me, let me say this, it was not about the journey. It was always about the destination and who would get what trophy this month.
Yeah, like
And so
competitive, right?
yeah, yeah, competitive. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And when I realized I wasn't like that, and I was okay the way I was, and that's in You Are Not Alone. But all those stories that I told myself, I decided to put that into the book. You are great just as you are. You are uniquely special. We all are. And just believing it, you have to say it sometimes over and over again. And if you believe in God, that's even better. You should.
Mhm.
And it's not that you should believe in God necessarily, but it's a good way to help yourself.
And
For me,
yeah, and I just think of it like we have to, or some people talk about vibrating at that frequency, right? Or this, like, how do we really step into vibrating or resonating at that frequency of love as far as, I think, God consciousness, or how do you feel like that is doing this kind of path work for people?
I think that as you become more and more aware of yourself on an internal basis, I think that you start to naturally almost figure it out, not with this is nothing to do with God necessarily, but it's more about you figure out your own path. It's figuring out how your path is operating because we each have your unique one. And it's about figuring out how we can use it to best help ourselves and to best help others.
Yeah, I think of it like knowing yourself. Sometimes that's the way that the better we know ourselves, the more that we can have healthy connections and all of that. So it's doing that like inner work. Or I also think about it like a lot of people are talking about becoming trauma informed or where we are like from our childhood, our attachment styles. So how does that really play a piece in your writing and in your creative work, basically talking about how a lot of this is rooted in our own trauma that we need to heal through?
So much of it
Yeah.
is that I can't even stop there. But through our books, yours and mine, we should tell them about yours. Yours sounds good. I forgot the name, but just go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, I wrote Ascension is the new attraction. So looking law of attraction, manifestation, really understanding how everything is a vibrational frequency, but basically how do we really get into that? So I want to see from your side, like what is your work giving us as far as a roadmap for how to do that?
So beyond the easier things, which is like the affirmations or there's earth grounding, there's a lot of practical ways to help center ourselves.
Hmm.
And that's really important because you can operate from a deeper frequency if you've centered yourself, whether it's to go out into your backyard or
Yeah, like
wherever you,
grounding, or we want to
yes,
be put
earth
our feet in
grounding.
nature.
You got it. You got it, girl. And so it does help though, whether you believe that or not, that whatever works for you, I know it centers me a lot.
Yeah, so much of it is about being out in nature. Instead of spending all day indoors, we definitely want to focus as part of like self-care routine. I think of it like daily outside time that we want to have, whether
Right.
that's meditation or just, yeah, reading a book under a tree.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you like to incorporate daily in your self-care
Like
routine?
you said, what I say in a couple of my books is that gratitude. We all need to every morning have gratitude in our lives because
Gratitude
that
practice,
will,
yeah.
yeah, that will be, that's the key. How can you wake up and be in a really bad mood if you're grateful for being healthy? If you're grateful for being alive, to taking it down to bare tactics. You're here, you're alive, and you can, I can be talking to you today. How can I be not happy? But I'll tell you a second part of that equation. I believe in passions. So this is when I believe
Mhm.
that anything can be possible in the world if there's something that you love to do and you're doing it. It doesn't have to be the thing that makes you money. I say that nothing wrong with making money, but it doesn't have to be that. Say you love cooking, right? And just do. So you put all these classes on, maybe people who've gone to the Cordon Bleu or wherever they have, and let whoever they are start to get really excited, physically excited by that, and try more and more of those dishes out. Or for me, it's singing. I was always a singer. And so for me, I can go anytime and start singing, playing my guitar, and that's a passion for me.
Yeah.
I just, I think that everyone has a passion within them and has a sense of gratitude within them. Both those things keep you from ever, it's really hard to be down on yourself when
Yeah.
you have those. Yeah.
Finding those things that we love. And I think you shared in the beginning your story about death and loss, your father and his passing, and then leading to your writing, as well as when your friend committed suicide and that leading to some breakthroughs. And I think what really that leads to our wanting to embrace the passions that we have and feel fully alive when loved ones have. It's sort of part of that grieving process, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And not to give it any less credence, we all have a superpower. Everybody's born with a superpower. Maybe they'll say, I haven't tapped into it yet. Okay. There's a million things of passions to look at, to try that you'll find you're amazing at. It doesn't matter what it is. You can try anything. It could take you months or whatever amount of time that you could do things and you might go, wow, that was really fun, but you'll be so good at it and you'll enjoy it so much. So that's another thing I mean by passions. I believe each of us is brought into the world with a superpower.
Yeah. And what do you say to people who are so much struggling going on in the world, right? We see inundation of like negative things happening, whether that's wars across the country, across the globe, and even in our own lives, just things that feel like people feeling like they're holding on with just a brink of a thread that they're tied to, and that's it. And paycheck to paycheck, whatever the case might be, and just feeling like down and it's really difficult. What do you have to say for someone who's trying to find that direction? And what do your books lead to when someone is really struggling in that low place to find hope for kind of break free and getting out of it?
So mainly I would say it's the hope for knowing this isn't going to necessarily pay your bills, what I'm teaching anyway, what they might read from me. It's about sharing the fact that this will make you happier. And if they're feeling down, maybe for an hour a day, they could read one of the books and figure out different ways. Like I've got all kinds of tips in there, like reframing if you're feeling outside of it at a party or something, if you're just not feeling great, there's all kinds of little ways to get over it and to work through it. Those are really important ways, but they're not all about making money.
Yeah.
I'm not that person. If they want financial person, that isn't what I'm doing here. But I do think that as hard as it is, it will make them happier to turn it around, to look at it from a different perspective. And I think when you're just grateful, it's hard to be all that down about things. I do.
Yeah. And I think of it like you hear oftentimes we have to go work through it, not around it. We can't go like spiritual bypassing work. We have to go like through that dark night of the soul or whatever the journey might be. Some people have a spiritual path in mind, and sometimes you don't. But basically, yeah, how do you really help with getting people through going through it as opposed to trying to just go around their issues and instead of avoiding that healing work? You know what I'm saying?
And I think you do know this already, is you have to go through it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. In order to come out the other end and be okay with yourself, we have to go through things that maybe are a little uncomfortable. But as we see them, as we read them, whether they're your book or something I've written, as we see them from just that feeling of, again, I keep using it, gratitude,
Mm.
we can look at it and say, ah, I'm going to be okay. It's all going to work out. Yeah, I understand. But you're working through it. I definitely think.
Yeah. And do you feel, I know you mentioned you don't have a particular religious background. I come from a Muslim background, but do you feel like we need a sort of a orientation towards God or anything along this way that you found to be really important as far as just the spiritual component?
For me, but I would never put weight the way I feel onto someone else.
Yeah.
Like my husband isn't feel the same way as me. And so I'm a little bit more into the divine than he is, but I think he's amazing. So I would never push anybody I loved into being anything other than what they want or need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't want to have any compulsion and yeah, people like what someone needs to believe. But I guess I'm just wondering, I don't know, people talk about their belief in God or being the root of it, as far as people who are struggling with having come from religious trauma or things and systems that didn't work well for them. How do we, like we talked about community and finding other like-minded individuals. So how do we really find that if it's not around a religious practice or that type of thing? Where do we go to find resources like that as far as your
I
work?
definitely think, sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I definitely think for talking about religiously community, I think that's the first place you do is you can go anywhere and find groups that are
Hmm.
like yours. I don't know if you already have, but you find a Muslim support group and you can ask them. how they feel. You can show with them, experience with them your books and how you can combine both your feelings about God and your religion and how they feel about it and how they've made it work for them or not work.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think a lot of us struggle with finding community that fits, especially when we have a lot of different layers of to our who we are as people. Like I struggle with, like you said, feeling like I ever fit in just right anywhere. And
I
so growing up, that's always a struggle. And I feel some of our inner child healing needs to happen in that area, right? We need to focus on doing the things, like you said, finding our passions, whatever that might be, and basically growing our community and our healthy connections from there. So much of that
okay.
work. Yeah.
I wanted to just say, not the book I'm doing now, which is called After They Leave, After They Fly, which is about my children. But the book I just had published is called it's Traumas to Triumph. But before that, it's Mystic Mirrored Memories. And
Mm.
it discusses our inner world, how it was, how it used to be. And it's mostly my perspective of it. I always felt different. I always did. And what I can do as an adult is look, I finally, by the way, it took forever, took book 8 to, I can look back at it and see I've grown so much and it won't hurt me anymore, ever. But I can look and hopefully help others now with what
Right.
I did go through pain,
Yeah.
but I'm over that. I'm okay.
And a lot of us, like you never look like the pain that you've been through, right? Of sometimes where the most, sometimes the people you would never suspect have been through the worst of it. I think learning to carry that well and with grace and with age or whatever the case might be is so important. And I was just going to say, it sounds like your last book was about empty nesting sort of syndrome, or like having
Yes,
coming of age into like
yeah,
a new phase of reality. So tell me a little bit
right.
about that. How has it been? How old are your
Uh,
children?
my children are grown, flew the
Yeah.
nest. No longer my life. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. They'll never be. They'll never be out of my life, or I'll kill them first. That was a joke too. No, as long as like your kids are okay, the people you love are okay, that's when we go to gratitude, right? As long as, but once that doesn't happen, then it's a whole new set of deals, and that's when I say go to a therapist and start working on that, not my books and not just you need to focus on that. But anyway, after they fly is when you really see them all going off, leaving the nest, but you want that for them. You are, I am feeling a little bit sad, but I can't let them see that. Off they're going to college. I see one path. I had 4 kids in 5 years.
Wow.
And so I was like, off, I would see them leave, and the next one, and the next one.
It all happened then.
Yeah. And I was sad. Okay. Yes. And that was during the time when I started writing more and writing more.
Yeah. Like
But
we
I,
said, the traumas and the pain bring out the
and the
best writing
Trump,
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right. But I'm promising you, I'm going to write because as we become our own independent, strong willed, okay woman, we can still write. We can and we
Yeah.
will. I think learning to be positive and understand we can be positive means that's a good thing. And
Hmm.
I'm not going to consider it that for me, that, oh, it's over. I can only write, I can only talk on a podcast if I'm depressed. I used to think that I've got to be really down. I got to be an artist, like starving, whatever. And what I realized is that no, just love yourself and the rest will come.
Yeah. How much of this work is about your own, so much of the work we're doing as women, it's like our divine feminine awakening and really embodiment of those qualities and it's just an empowerment journey altogether, I would say. And so I wanted to just reflect on how many books you've written and how this has just been a massive journey. Sounds like a journey of empowerment for your own self as you move through the life stages and the books that have come out
Mhm.
after that. So tell me a little bit about how this really has been your own embodiment
Cathartic.
journey. Yeah, cathartic for your own self in this healing process.
Yes, definitely. I used myself a lot. Yeah, for sure. Which is okay because I think that sometimes you need to go through what you've been through to really get it across. So, yeah, I did. And what I realized and learned is, in addition to being a highly sensitive person, I was also very shy, very
Mhm.
introverted. So, knowing that, for instance, say I'm with my whole family and I'm at like a party, that's when there's a lot of different little techniques I do and I talk about. But say this one, I'm overwhelmed. All I have to do is go into the bathroom for a minute and I think to myself, how can I reframe the negative thought process I'm going through? What is it that it's trying to tell me? How is it trying to help me? And what if I looked at it this way? Nobody's trying to hurt me. This is all okay. Don't you believe for, I'm talking to myself, don't you
Mhm.
believe for a second that these people care about you? Just sit down, relax. I go through this little process.
Yeah, like a
Five,
checklist.
yeah, and 5 minutes later, I feel better, a lot
Yeah,
better. And I can
yeah.
come back in, sit on the couch, and I'm all right.
Yeah, I always think my personal trick is just to say this is happening for me, not to me. You know what I mean? Like, why was it
Yeah.
happening? I mean, it's happening for me, not to me. It's like just this is all, yeah. And then we have to just take a deep breath and regulate our system that way, right? Just with that
Already
moment of
breathing.
pause. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that, Karen. Amazing. I'm really glad that we got to talk about the work that you're doing and all the gratitude and abundance and mindset work that we're working with on healing the collective consciousness as women. And I feel like it's so important to highlight and help share and promote the work that you're doing. So, where can anyone listening find you if they want to tune in or find? I know you have your books and your website. Where's the best place if someone wants to follow and hear more
All the
about it?
books are on Amazon.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
okay, all of them, except the ninth is finished being ready. We're just working on the wrap up. So 8 of them are on Amazon with my name, by Karen Blaine. And so you can definitely find it there. And I do have a website, and it's eternalempath.com.
Yeah. And you mentioned a podcast, something coming out that you
Oh,
were going to launch.
yes.
Is that right?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I am. Finally, I've decided to launch my own. It's called Subconscious Strength
Mm.
because it doesn't, a lot of people think they don't get it, they don't understand it that much. And without a God component, actually, it doesn't always need a God component to understand. You can go inward and believe and trust in yourself, and then talk to people who feel that way different all their lives and the same kind of thing. And you're maybe on the same frequency as there, but just I don't think it's necessary for me to bring in God. I'm doing it with a friend, and
Mm.
we're different, and I don't think it would be right with her.
Yeah, subconscious strength. I love that. It sounds like we're just learning about the power of the subconscious mind, surface level. It's just such a powerful network engine in our that we operate on. Building awareness around that, how we can really tap into the powers. I actually my own healing journey started about 5 years ago when I worked with a hypnotherapist, and that's
Ah,
how I got into, yeah, nightly recordings and addressing the traumas that surface during our sessions. I really get that. And it doesn't have to be any particular orientation for your spirituality. So that's the work that I really love about the work that you're doing, Karen. I appreciate that. And so, any final thoughts or words of wisdom before we wrap up that you want to leave our listeners with, or anyone who wants to find your books or listen to the future podcasts on the subconscious mind? What's the best place? What's the best way to
one
reap some
sentence.
motivations? Yeah.
I would say to someone, anyone, you are not alone. I know you are not alone. And I know self love becomes everybody's saying it type thing.
Cliche. Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Too many people don't feel it. We got to get you to feel it. We got to work on that so that it makes you, sometimes it's 100 times a day in front of the mirror. You are more than good enough. I love and accept myself. That may sound, it's not going to ever sound braggy because we've put ourselves down to brag enough. When we're down on ourselves, it's not a healthy way to be. So let's try believing in ourselves, lifting us up, and knowing it's a really good thing And don't let anyone ever tell you it's not.
Yeah. Don't let anyone tear you down, right? In this process, life,
Right.
everyone wants to get our claws in you at some point. So we have to go through that journey. And I really appreciate, Karen, the wisdom that you shared and everything that has led up to the work that you've been doing with all of the books and all of the life stages that have been transformative as far as, although they've been traumatic, really growing and coming into higher levels because of the pain. And I think that's what we're really talking about here
Yes.
for
Mhm.
anyone who's feeling that or doing that. I think your work, it's amazing. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen, for being here. I had a great time. I'll definitely be promoting your work and your books and hopefully your message to the world. So thank you so much for being here. I hope to talk to you soon, Karen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye. Thank you.